Let's go. Stand over here. Let's go.
It's rush hour on the Long Island Expressway. In police body camera video, you hear an officer trying to question a truck driver.
You got somebody following you. You're in the HOV lane. You're hitting the wall. Now what'd you do?
Police say he hit the median, crossed all lanes of traffic, and crashed.
You got a driver's license on you?
Yes, sir.
It happened last July, but since the case is still open, we're not identifying the driver.
You got to stay with me, man.
I got to get off.
No, you got to stay with me.
I
know you're trying. I know you're trying. But you got to, so what'd you take?
Sorry.
What'd you take?
The driver never answers that question. Repeatedly, he appears to doze off.
Yeah. Yes.
Where do you work out of? Where's the truck going?
The officer administers a field sobriety test. In court records, he alleges the driver became responsive when he received Narcan, medicine that reverses an opioid overdose. The man was charged with driving while impaired by drugs, but we found out 6 months later, the charge was dismissed. For the charge to stick, the officer has to name the exact drug ingested, and the drug has to be on a list created by lawmakers. If a driver refuses to confess or refuses a toxicology test, they get a free pass. Also, if the driver's drug of choice isn't on the list, no matter how impaired they are, they cannot be charged with drug driving.
She went across the street, she spoke to her brother, jumped into the car, and they just pulled out from the curb. His vehicle came across the double yellow line and hit them right here, head on.
Right here. Frank Roggio's daughter, Christian, was in a car with friends in Brooklyn, almost home when they were hit. What do you remember?
Oh, I remember her bleeding from every opening. Eyes, ears, nose, as she laid there. 20 years later, and it's still just as hard.
In 2004, prosecutor Maureen McCormick was assigned to the case. It was alleged the driver who hit Roggio had ingested dust-off, a substance not on the list.
He was intentionally pressing the little stick from the can against his teeth and huffing it in. When he lost consciousness, we didn't have the drugged driving charge.
Prosecutors lost that specific charge, then the entire case. The driver was acquitted. McCormick blamed the loophole and has been trying to close it since.
I made a promise to Mr. Roggio.
Please, what are we waiting for?
Last year, she urged lawmakers to pass the deadly driving bill.
And the drugs are being produced so quickly. Where does that leave a case?
A list can never work, and 46 other states have gotten there.
The bill broadens the definition of a drug to include any substance that impairs.
What I know is that it wasn't moved.
You want New York to get rid of this list?
That's right. Get rid of the list. In that situation, people can drive impaired, and it's not illegal. That's a problem.
I met with NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy at her office in Washington, D.C. Homendy wants the loophole closed, too. It exists in just 3 other states, Alaska, Massachusetts, and Florida. 20 months ago, she sent this letter to Governor Hochul urging New York to act on her safety recommendations. But she says she hasn't heard back.
It's really frustrating and heartbreaking. Our recommendations are issued because somebody died. Somebody died, and that means somebody's going to die again.
We requested an interview with Governor Hochul. In response, the state DMV sent us a statement saying the governor's top priority is safety, and she's proposing to lower the bar to permanent license forfeiture if a person has multiple alcohol or drug-related driving convictions. But critics say the existing loophole prevents convictions. You don't think this will ever change?
No. My daughter to them is insignificant.
Christian Roggio was a go-getter, gone now longer than she was here.
Oh, hi, honey.
I didn't want you to be by yourself.
She always blamed herself for what happened.
You were in the car?
Yeah,
She was driving. She was the driver.
Yeah. And Chrissy was like a little sister to me. It was really odd. I think about her every day.
Call me a bus. I'm all right. Call me a bus.
That's the voice of an NYPD officer requesting help. He was investigating a crash between a car and a truck in Brooklyn when he was hit by the truck. His legs crushed.
Somebody help me sit up.
God, I thought you moved his car.
The truck driver is visibly alarmed. As the injured officer is rushed to the hospital, police administer a field sobriety test.
You're going to place your right foot in front of your left foot, heel to toe. Don't use the
Diabetic, doctor. I'm
Okay. All right, look at me. You can't keep balance?
I'm dizzy as hell.
In New York, to charge an impaired driver, police must name the exact drug ingested and confirm it's on a pre-existing list. If they can't, law enforcement says alleged drug drivers like this man are off the hook.
You got a driver's license on you?
Yes, sir.
It's really frustrating.
Last year, the chair of the NTSB told me only 4 states have this loophole. The chair, the victims of drug drivers, and law enforcement all say New York must close this loophole.
So what'd you take? What'd you take?
If you see impairment roadside and you can't name that drug, the current law wants you to let that person go. One impaired driver is one too many.
NYPD Detective Tim Kessler is the department's DWI coordinator. He's trained tens of thousands to detect drug drivers. Kessler says after the officer was hit by the truck driver in Brooklyn, he had to retire.
It was very difficult. I mean, this was a young officer, started his career, and just to see somebody so reckless, somebody that's done it before.
6 years before.
Being arrested is what he deserves if he's driving without a license.
That's the same driver getting a field sobriety test after a crash in Queens in 2015. Kessler says he struck and killed a bicyclist while high.
An experienced drug user knows these issues and these problems that law enforcement faces, so they lied to us.
To pin down the drug the driver allegedly took, Kessler says police conducted additional tests, only able to charge the driver by chance.
He was only admitting to his prescription medications, leaving out the illicit drugs that he was taking. Since one of those drugs was on the list, we were able to ultimately charge him.
For months, we repeatedly asked the governor's office if she wanted to revise the law. Hochul's office would only say public safety was her top concern, quote, which is why she's taken action to stop car thefts and crack down on ghost vehicles. To get clarification on the governor's stance this month, we caught up with her after an unrelated press conference.
Do you want to close this loophole? Is this a priority for you, or is there a reason to leave the loophole open?
No, I don't think we should have a loophole that allows people who are under the influence to get behind a wheel. Do not believe that. But the governor needs the legislature to act as well. Sometimes it takes a few times to get it right, but we've not ignored that issue because it's critically important.
It's been 20 years. Is it a priority for you? This loophole has been in place for 20 years. Is this a priority for you, this upcoming
I'll continue to
legislative
focus
session?
on it, and we'll work the hardest we can with the legislature to get it finished.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Right. Thank you, everybody.
2 weeks later in her State of the State speech, no mention of changing the drug driving laws. But in the corresponding book, page 45, it stated the governor, quote, will propose legislation to close critical loopholes, such as expanding the universe of prosecutable substances.
There's a large amount of drugs that, one, aren't being tested for, that aren't on that list, that people are taking commonly every single day, that's impairing them to the extent that they're unable to operate that vehicle safely, and they're on the roadways next to us.